This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I see above me that endless skyway. I saw below me the Golden Valley. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, which all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. When the sun came shining and I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling, a voice was chanting as the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on the sign it said no trespassing. But on the other side, it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. In the squares of the city, in the shadow of a steeple, by the relief office, I'd seen my people. As they stood there hungry, I stood there asking, is this land made for you and me? Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. Everybody, this land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
Good morning. Welcome to Horizon Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Eileen Terrell. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am serving as your worship associate this morning. I am joined by our worship leader, Alan Gann, whose pronouns are he, him, his. Welcome to our worship service. We are glad to have you here with us this morning, whether you're joining us in person or online, whether you're here for the first time, or whether you've been here for longer than you can remember. Here at Horizon, we welcome people of all faiths and of no faith in particular. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome here among us. And please, well, normally I would say please be our guest after service for coffee and conversation. That might be problematic this morning. However, although the potluck was canceled, we are serving lunch. So please still stay for lunch and conversation after the service. And I believe Lisa Casto has something more to say on these points.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Casto. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the president of this glorious church. And I want to thank you for being here today despite the situation of not having water. And you may ask, why would we not have water? Well, I want everybody to know, so there's not rumors that we aren't paying our bills or something crazy like that. Yeah, not true, everybody. The water line from the church to the city tap broke. And it broke a little bit, and then it broke a lot, and it's not the first time. So we the city had to come and shut the water off, and it was too muddy for the emergency plumbers that we had to even get to it to fix it, which is why we don't have water today. They're coming back on Monday. It's very likely, almost 100% certain, that we're going to need to replace the entire water line. It's PVC pipe. It's as old as this church. My kid's 30, and she was here when she was tiny, so almost 30. So it's time to do it. And I have to say that Horizon people were amazing. We spent a lot of time on the phone yesterday and sending emails and texts. Cancel the auction, keep the auction. We did the auction. The auction was a huge success, great fun. I hope we do it again. I know we'll do it again. The people were so resilient. This is, I think, true for this is the church that Horizon is. Resilient, resourceful, problem solving, and showing up, and caring for each other. So I want to thank you all. Yeah, that's for you. We had a conference here. It was the ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics. They were amazingly gracious. The water was on until after lunch. They helped even set up for the auction. They got water. They figured out, they were just amazing, just like Horizon was. There were a few people, there's too many people to thank, but I especially want to mention Bruce Dyer, because, woo, dear, thank you. Tina, always. Alex was here to help, Lauren, I could go on and on. It was spectacular. And Alan Sprout and the people who did the auction, and I see some of you here, great job. So if you have questions, I'll be around. I'll stay for the Viva Robotis event today, and I hope that you will too. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Lisa. And speaking of Vivas Robotis, I'm sure that you all noticed the t-shirts hanging outside the front doors of the church when you walked in this morning. Those are part of the Vivas Robotis, or Stolen Lives, installation. The t-shirts have the names of people who have died by gun violence, by accident, homicide, or suicide in Denton County. Please stay after lunch today to join together in putting up the rest of the t-shirts on the frames near the wayside pulpit facing the street. All are welcome to participate in the installation. In association with this, someone with Moms Demand Action, a gun violence prevention group, will be in the lobby. Please visit their table. And that, I think, takes care of today's announcements. We can get on with the service.
I love this land is your land. Let us wake up, not just from the Sunday morning exhaustion, from the wish for a few more drowsy minutes in bed. Let us wake up to this world we live in, to its beauty and its wonder, and also to its tragedy and pain. We must wake up to this reality that not all in this world have what we do, however much or little that is. We must wake up to the idea that our own wholeness, our lives, are only as complete as the lives of those around us, of those that we are inextricably tied to in the great web of mutuality of which we are all a part. Let us wake up. Let us stay awake. Let us stay woke. And now, in this time and place, let us worship together.
We light this flame to ignite our hearts and minds, the spark of knowledge that enlightens, the shimmering hope that burns, the blazing love that engulfs our actions, the bonfire of our commitment. We light this flame for those who celebrate themselves, who fear, who hope, who persevere, for those who side with love for all. And now, please join me in our affirmation, which is printed on the back of your order of service and projected on the screen. As we say together, love is a doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth. Thus do we covenant together. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, We Are a Gentle, Angry People, number 170 in the gray hymnal and projected on the screen.
Horizon works to make a difference in our local community, and there are many, many ways we do that. And of course, we do that by supplying items for the pantry at MetroCrest Services and for the little free pantry that we have on the Horizon grounds. And I would invite you, if you're here in person, to go look at all the donations from last night's auction to MetroCrest. There are mountains and mountains of donations, and hopefully those pictures will appear online for those of you watching at home. So I have a story today. And I'm not going to be calling anybody up, so please add to our mountains and mountains of donations if you brought anything for MetroCrest this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and start a story. The story is called Speak Up by Miranda Paul, illustrated by Ebony Glenn. One thing I love about the adults today, you're going to be talking about some poetry, and that's one of the things I love about children's literature, is that it also is kind of like poetry, because it is short and to the point, and yet so deep and poignant. So our book is Speak Up. There are times when we should be quiet. There are days for letting go. But when matters are important, speak up and let others know. There are so many ways to speak up, like a sign, a smile, a shout. If we could make things better, why not let our words out? When you are being introduced, and they get your name all wrong, speak up, say your name. You are you, and you belong. When someone spreads a rumor and you say it can't be true, speak up. Speak up, state the facts. Truth can open up your view. When a rule isn't just fair or has gotten much too old, speak up, work for change. Justice comes when we are bold. When a person wounds another and their words, with words or with their fist, speak up. Be an ally. Safety comes when we persist. When you see someone who's lonely or they're having a bad day, speak up, share a moment. Kindness goes a long way. When you make a small mistake, even if you didn't know, speak up, say you're sorry. Listen to love, learn to listen, learn to grow. When you have a special day or you're given something new, speak up, shout thanks. Gratitude makes life so sweet. When you're sad or packed with feelings and the world gets dark and gray, speak up. When those are said and creatures suffer from, speak up. And for help, friendship, folks, I'm going to go ahead and take off my glasses. I don't have my correct reading glasses on. So I know you never see me like this, so I apologize. Speak up, ask for help. Friendship chases clouds away. When trees and creatures suffer from our quick and careless choice, speak up, rally others. We need your mindful voice. When you know a scary secret about someone getting hurt, speak up, tell a grown-up. Courage sometimes means you'll blurt. When the group is taking one path, but you know it's not the way, speak up, change directions. Leaders don't always obey. While some people speak up loudly and your words might whisper quiet,
one voice can make a difference. So don't hesitate, try it. So thank you for your patience today, and thank you for listening to the story. Any young people today, we are going to go to the blue classroom for games and fun. Thank you so much. Let's sing you out.
As you go your way in peace. Last month, much of the southeastern United States was hit hard by Hurricane Helene. And then again this week, the Florida Peninsula was hit by Hurricane Milton. Many of us have friends and family that are directly affected. Many Unitarian Universalists and their congregations were also hit by the storm. Today's offering will be donated to the UUA's Disaster Relief Fund, which offers support to those congregations as their churches rebuild from hurricane damage. The offering will now be given and received. Thank you for your generosity. Pithy and powerful, poetry is a popular art form at protests and rallies. From the civil rights and women's liberation movements to Black Lives Matter, poetry is commanding enough to gather crowds in a city square and compact enough to demand attention on social media. Speaking truth to power remains a crucial role of the poet in the face of political and media rhetoric designed to obscure, manipulate, or worse. The selection of poems below call out and talk back to the inhumane forces that threaten from above. Some insist, as Langston Hughes writes, that all these walls oppression builds will have to go. Others seek ways to actively make peace, as Denise Levertov implores, suggesting that each act of living might cultivate collective resistance. All rail against complacency and demonstrate why poetry is necessary and sought after in moments of political crisis.
Over the years, I've gone to many protest rallies. I've gone for DACA Dreamers, for ballot access, for reproductive choice, and Black Lives Matter. And at some point in almost every protest or rally, somebody performs a poem, and the poem crystallizes the big why. In just a few well-chosen words, it captures all that swirling emotion, and it unifies the crowd, and we are once again determined to continue our push for social justice. We are in the tradition of Gwendolyn Brooks and Langston Hughes, Allen Ginsberg and Maya Angelou. They're close cousins with all those great protest songs. Sam Cooke's A Change Is Gonna Come. Pete Seeger's If I Had a Hammer, which if I thought about it, we would have been doing that as the final hymn. But I didn't think about that. And so many great Woody Guthrie songs, Deportees, Hard Travelin'. Holly Near wrote our opening hymn in response to the 1978 assassination of Harvey Milk. I've written my share of protest poems, social justice poems, and I'm a member now of the Woody Guthrie Poets. And as a member, I get to share some of these poems with a bunch of other woke and talented poets. Our featured reading every year is at the Woody Guthrie Folk Festival in Okemah, Oklahoma. And we're performing on the front porch of Woody's childhood home. And it's inspiring. And then you look over it. I remember I looked over and there's Pete Seeger watching me do a poem. I mean, like, what the hell? Or Tom Paxson, he likes to sit in the back corner with a notebook and he's taking notes, and you wonder what's he writing when I'm reading. And it's just incredible. And so when I said I'd do this service, I started making a list of poems I wanted to read, and it was about 50 long. I figured some of y'all might walk out after the second hour. So I trimmed, and each one hurt, because there were some great poems that there were some poems on racial justice, environmental justice, some very funny, if slightly inappropriate poems about a certain fascist former president and his attempts to steal an election. And every one of those poems deserves to be heard, and you deserve to hear them, but it's unfortunately not going to happen this morning. But I couldn't present a service entitled In Woody's Shadow without sharing a poems by Dorothy Alexander. She's one of my mentors, heroes. She's the one who told all of us that we were writing in Woody's shadow. She's the one who invited me to join the Woody Guthrie Poets. She was a hurricane for social justice as a lawyer and a judge. When her and her wife Debbie went on vacation one time, They were going to several countries, heavily Catholic countries in South America, and they were smuggling in contraceptives where they weren't legal, and that's just what she did on her vacation. Now, a lot of social justice poetry is angry and it sort of slaps you in the face, beats you over its head with its point. But I like the ones that are a little more, they kind of point the way and whisper in your ear. And I think this is one of those poems, and it's the very first poem I ever heard Dorothy perform. It's called Trip to Wayuka for Paul Brandhorst, 1966 to 1998. The first night at support group, he wore a Western hat low over his eyes, a toothpick in the side of his mouth, thumbs hooked in Levi's pockets, pretending to be a cowboy. He said nothing save his name, but afterwards followed me out to ask a question, the kind you know is just an excuse for conversation. I'd seen enough before this night to know how it would go. His family had scattered like quail at the mention of AIDS, were still in hiding. He was driven by the unfairness, injustice, bitterness, loneliness. Under the brim of his Stetson, he was desperate to connect. Near the end, he asked to see his mother's grave in Nebraska. So we walked the streets of Lincoln while he pointed out the landmarks, his mother's grave in Wayuka Cemetery, the pauper's plot of infamous Charlie Starkweather. Our second time in Lincoln, I carried him in an urn, left him in that place where mothers, sons, and murderers all lie down together, all injustice and bitterness swallowed up in the dirt. I could do a whole service of Dorothy poems, and I should, but I'll do one more. This one is called Proof of Purchase. Against the odds, he took on great debt in the midst of the Great Depression, all for a quarter section of sandy land. What was there to fear when he had his one-room school education and a strong young wife who brought a dowry of hard work? Neither the gritty winds nor the dearth of cash could turn him from his dream of owning a piece of ground. Each year, they wrestled cotton and broom corn from the dirt and handed it back to the land in the form of ransom payments to the bank. She barely complained, but once I saw her cry when the census taker came at supper time and saw our poor meal on the table. She understood the price of owning land and was willing to pay it. But when the last payment was laid down, she saw the deed handed over to him without her name on it. Dorothy died in 2022, and I think the next poem I'm going to read is the last one she heard me perform. When civil rights activist, Congress Representative John Lewis died, I knew I'd write a poem honoring him and his legacy. I'd seen him speak, been inspired by his words, his actions, but I'd written so much crap for it. I couldn't find the way in because in the middle of all the Black Lives Matter protests, it was clear that while his work was momentous, it was so incomplete. And then it was one Saturday at Clyde Warren Park, me and some friends, we were at a Black Lives Matter protest there. And we paused, and they projected on the screen. and they showed the carriage carrying his body across the Selma Bridge. And that's when I found my key. It starts with an epigraph from one of his speeches. It's called The Poem I Need to Write. You must be bold, brave, and courageous. Find a way to get in the way, to get into trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble. And I need to write a poem about a final crossing of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, a span of weathered steel in Selma, Alabama. But my pen keeps finding a way to get in the way. Insists on words like, I can't breathe. Makes the horse-drawn cadence echo the crack of billy clubs. Notes that the sign still honors a soiled white dragon, feels the hard gaze of blue arrogance. A prayerful hush reminds us of a young man shot, murdered for buying Skittles while wearing a hoodie. Those gathered to pay their respects become a litany of the slain, of Eric Garner, murdered by chokehold while being arrested for selling loose cigarettes, Stefan Clark, shot 20 times by the Sacramento police for being in his grandmother's backyard with a cell phone, Tamir Rice, 12-year-old African-American youth, shot and killed by a white Cleveland police officer for playing with the exact same toy gun I got for my 12th birthday. Walter Scott died after being shot from behind while fleeing a traffic stop. And Michael Brown died after being shot while surrendering to the Ferguson, Missouri police. And I am left wondering, how many more names before I can write my poem? How many more times will we have to cross that blood-stained bridge? And while we consider that question, join us in the doxology, which will be projected on the screen. I'm so glad that we brought back the doxology. It makes me happy. We now take time to honor the sorrows and joys of this community, knowing that we are all interconnected and that what affects one affects us all. Mary Ann has a sorrow. Blaze's kitty Frisky was attacked and passed on, and we are wishing prayers for her safe journey to the goddess Bastet's home. That's always something that tugs. Minica reminds us that October is National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Let us remember all the infants and babies who have died. Maya Campbell has a concern, and it's a concern that I actually have too. It's hoping for news from some of her friends from Orlando that had to evacuate and have not been able to reach out yet. I still have a couple of friends in Asheville I haven't heard from, and I'm sure that many of you share a similar concern. I have several of these that mention the great joy that was the women's retreat and Jamie, is it Jamie Peel? Peace. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't read. Obviously did a fantastic job judging by all the, the joys up here. And Marianne, they've celebrated Torn's birthday on Thursday, and that was clearly a great, great joy. Torah. Oh, I'm sorry. Once again, reading is not my strong suit. I write, I don't read. And finally, we light a candle this morning to honor all the joys and sorrows which have gone unspoken and reside only in our hearts. Now, I invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation in whatever way feels right for you. After the prayer, we'll have a time of silent meditation. And following the silent meditation, we will have our responsive hymn, number 157, Step by Step. Spirit of life, we are grateful for another day, a new day, another chance to experience the wonder, and another chance to make this world a better place. Our hearts go out to all those impacted by the hurricanes. We are grateful, but we are also grateful for all those who have offered aid, to the first responders, to neighbors helping neighbors, to neighbors helping strangers, to all those who donated as they have been able. And we pray for those whose suffering remains unknown to us. May they find the relief or the strength. May their lives be better tomorrow. Spirit of life, let us be worthy of this day and all the new days to come. Amen and blessed be.
How to Be a Patriot by Woody Guthrie poet Sharon Edge Martin. Drink less and walk more. Pardon me. Strike that. drive less, and walk more. No more wars for oil. Plant a garden and teach a child the joy of dirt. Adopt a refugee family. Making friends is cheaper and more reliable than building walls. And if we are going to build a wall, let's design it to last and pay the builders a living wage. Make sure it can be seen from outer space. Include great stone steps to the top of the wall and down. Add a Starbucks every quarter mile or so. Advertise it as a tourist attraction. Fund science, cures, clean cars, real hoverboards, and space travel. Someone needs to photograph that wall. Protect public access to public lands. Keep water and air safe to drink and breathe. Say no to militants and madmen who would take for themselves what belongs to all of us. Educate everyone. Feed kids healthy foods. Pass Medicare for all. Design libraries to be the most exciting building in the neighborhoods, and don't leave out the poor neighborhoods. Provide an education to citizens and guests in exchange for public service. Smile at strangers. Cook meals for the hungry and the lonely. Read to a kid. Coach Little League. Plant a public orchard. Stand up for the weak. Defend the Constitution. Make music. Make art. Make the world a better place.
Tom Prasada Rao wrote that song because he couldn't sleep. He was going through chemo. He was in pain. He could barely play his guitar. And he was always exhausted. But the George Floyd story haunted him. He was following the protest, and it kept him up until he had no choice. He had to write the song and release it into the world. And that's how many of the social justice songs, the social justice poems happen. We are haunted, and we can't sleep until we spill our words onto the page. But so what? A poem never changed anything, especially a mind. We can spout all the facts we want, but minds aren't really what need to be changed. And poems and songs and plays and art, what we can do is we can move hearts. That's what we have to do. We have to move hearts. And the next poem I'm going to read is about Paul Juhas. And it's one of those late night poems that can move a heart. And Paul, I've heard him do this poem several times. He introduces the poem by saying he likes going to art museums to see the art. He goes to his favorite car museum to see the classic cars. So what would he expect to see in a children's museum? In the Hall of Forgotten Collectibles, there's a Danny Ainge baseball card, some kid, it may have been Tony Mastriani of Charleston, Massachusetts, kept because he was told it would be valuable someday. There are pins from rock bands which once flashed through jean-jacketed junior high hallways, and Star Wars action figures, the one that Nathaniel, although the placard informs me that his friends called him Nate, of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, removed from its package despite strict and clear parental orders, again, according to the placard, to protect its value, all because he wanted to play with it. But it has found its way there too. There are all sorts of other halls in the Children's Museum. A hall of incomplete projects, the hall of tree houses, a hall of secret handshakes and passwords, the hall of imaginary friends. There's also a hall of childhood dreams, but it has been cordoned off due to cuts in the custodial staff. I like to visit the Children's Museum. You can see all sorts of kids there. A young Matthew Wayne Shepherd is there. So is Olivia Ingle from Newtown, Connecticut, despite Alex Jones' assertion that she was just an actor. And Uzziah Garcia from Uvalde, Texas. Cassie Bernal from Columbine, Colorado. Joaquin Oliver, though the placard tells you his friends called him Walk, from Parkland, Florida. Madison Baldwin of Oxford, Michigan. Valiant Jeffrey May and his pencil from Red Lake, Minnesota. Evelyn Dickhouse from Nashville, Tennessee. And all the rest of the children are here, safe now, behind the glass in their hermetically sealed dioramas. I knew I was going to do that poem, but I didn't know what poem could follow that. And I thought it reminded me of my closest encounter with a mass shooting. Some of y'all might have been there. It was July 7th, 2016. There was a Black Lives Matter protest at City Hall. It was precipitated by the shooting of Alton Sterling from Baton Rouge, and Philando Castillo from Minnesota. But the rally was disrupted by a shooter. That's what the newspaper articles called it, disrupted. 5 police officers were killed, 7 others were wounded. I knew lots of people at that protest, but I wasn't there. I was a few miles east at a community center in Deep Ellum, and we were working an event called Diverse Lounge. And Diverse Lounge is this celebration of youth creativity. Hundreds of middle and high school students from some of the most privileged schools and neighborhoods and some of the most underserved and economically challenged neighborhoods, they all come together and they make art together. They dance together. They share their poems on the open mic. And then there's this shooting a few miles away, and we're in lockdown. And there's rumors. Parents are calling to see if they can pick their child up, but we say no. You know, they're safe, but no, you can't come right now. And half of us are worried about friends that are over there. But through it all, there is this spirit of love and connection and creativity flowing from these young people, these hopeful young people. And eventually we get the all clear, we pack them on their buses, and we send them home, and we stack the chairs. Really, that's what volunteering is all about. It's about stacking chairs. And I get home about 1 a.m., and I can't sleep either. There's just no way. So about 4 a.m., I write this poem, and it's really addressed or in honor of all those young people and their ability to be fearless and loving at this time. It's called Equations. I am my words and I am not my words. And today all words are my words. I am the clapper and the bell, the chime, sustain, and distant echo. I have no choice. I am both greater than and less than my words, and today I must love them all. Equation is a beautiful word, setting 2 things equal to one another. Chime and bell and sustain and echo, all beautiful words. Black lives are beautiful words, equal to all the other beautiful words. Greater than and less than are not quite so beautiful. Like anger and boredom, like rejection and fear, like rumors and the echoes of bullets fired in the night. Almost imaginary, barely even words, and I must love them all. Now, brown rice with sweet and sour tofu is a delicious word, a real word, a beautiful word. Often students are delicious words, often raw, sometimes the dancer, sometimes the fall. And I am both greater than and less than the fall, than anger and joy and fear. Perhaps I too am imaginary, barely even a word, wondering who could love me at all. Silly poets, hopeful poets, youthful poets, perched on the tall stools, typing hearts into phones. Fearless poets, sharing your most valuable words, knowing the microphone does not discriminate. The microphone treats all words as equal. You are beautiful words, my words. And today I love you all. I closed my eyes, saw parents walking down the beach holding hands. Holding hands is a beautiful, beautiful word. I am so glad my parents did not know where I was that night. My parents, who were such beautiful words, spared that one awful worry. And I have no choice. I am my parents, and I am not my parents. I am both greater than and less than my parents, and I will love them always. Once I Googled, am my words and am not my words. By the way, Google is a beautiful word. And discovered many poets claim the same absurdity. Students are often absurd, but brown rice never is. And you may have more brown rice than my students do, or less than my parents did. But your brown rice is neither greater than nor less than theirs. Like a bullet will never be greater than a poem. Like the poem is neither greater than nor less than a river or the sky. Like a church, like this church, like Horizon Unitarian Universalist Church, will always be a beautiful, beautiful word. Like Eileen and Lucas and Kel and choir, all beautiful, beautiful words. Like I am neither greater than nor less than a single grain of brown rice. Like each and every one of us, everyone in this room, everyone on Zoom, like each and every one of us is neither greater than nor less than love. May it always be so.
We extinguish this flame, but not our commitment to welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. We do this because we envision a beloved community filled with compassion, helping all to thrive in a just world. And now I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, Come and Go With Me, number 1080 in the teal hymnal and projected on the screen.
Come and go with me to that land.
Our shared UU values call us to dismantle racism, all forms of oppression, systemic and otherwise. And of course, no poem, no song has ever dismantled anything. And yet, I hope you have found some fuel. I hope your spirit is renewed. I hope your compass has been oriented and you have found your north so that we can go out into the world, into our communities, and heal this glorious and wounded world. Blessed be. Go in peace.